So if anybody misses it, they're going to be able to watch it on YouTube, or at least most of it. But because I know a lot of people have a time thing. This is, you know, I know it's all over the world here. So there are people in Europe and everywhere else that was here last month.
Hi.
Hi. Hey, Linda. How are you?
I'm here. Yay. How are you?
Doing good. Doing good. I'm glad we're getting a crowd in here. So, hello.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Yay.
Yay, hello.
Hi.
It's great to be here.
Good to see you. Good to see you. Mr. P. Hi.
Hi.
So,
Hi, Davinder.
Hey, Rich, how you doing?
okay. All right.
See you guys. Glad to see everyone.
Yeah, this is great. I even got my mask. Did everybody bring their mask?
Oh, yeah.
No,
yeah.
we don't want to spread anything around here. I just wear it all day. This way I know I won't forget it. You know, whatever I'm at, I just got it. I forgot it. So anyway, I thought I'd just go over some things that people have commented on, that they had questions on. But if you have a question, just let me know what it is right now, and we'll talk about that. Otherwise, I'll just talk about some things that I've seen some people talk about before. It's working out good. Hi. I don't know who you are, but you just came up on the screen. Fatima.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm fine. I'm from Norway. And I just want to tell you that I saw for the first time your video about, you were speaking about the importance of the spread, like a conceptual blending.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was fantastic, fantastic. And this was like a revelation for me, because I see now the importance of the spread in a reading.
Thank you. Thank you. That's really good to hear, Fatima, because I tell you,
yeah,
most sources, you pick up, there's wonderful books out there. I'm not trying to plug my books or nothing. But you see most sources will have like 350-page book on the tarot. And they go a lot of a description about each card, and about maybe the history and things like that. And you might have 10 pages in there about the spread, about the application of a
yeah,
reading. And it might go over 8 different spreads. You might have one page talking about one spread, another page talking about another spread. I think the spread is more important than the reading, than the cards. The spread is your question broken apart into sections to look into.
Yeah.
And you could actually do a reading without a card laid into those positions. If you're looking and say, well, what do you got going for you? What are you going through right now? What's the timing look like here? What do what are you ultimately trying to accomplish? A lot of those you could look at without, if you want to look at it rationally, you could answer those questions anyway. And we do that in our mind anyway.
exactly.
But what the cards do is they spark ideas that you didn't see before, and that's what they're really there for. So I don't think a lot of time and effort. I think more time and effort should be spent on the application than the actual cards. And
Yeah.
And that's interesting you mentioned that, though, Panama, and I appreciate that. Which was my books are Genius of the Tarot and Essential Tarot. Have about 50 pages in there. They're a 350-page book, 400-page book, 350-page. And they both have about 50 pages in there going over 3 spreads only.
Yeah.
And I think that's more important to look into.
Yeah. But congratulations for that video, because it is still there, and it's a fantastic, and I recommend it to everybody that is watching, go there and watch that video, because it's a lesson about spreads and about how it became, how it is today, and your ideas about conceptual blending is phenomenal. So
Thank you. Thank
big
you.
fan, big fan.
Well, thank you very much. It's good to hear. You know, I came up with that 10 years ago, and I thought, oh my gosh, the biggest mystery of the tarot is, why does it work?
Exactly.
You know, and now we could explain why. And we're doing exactly what creative consultants are doing for Fortune 500 companies. We're using the same exact application. It's an intentional application of thinking that allows you to come up with new ideas that you didn't see before you sat down to look at whatever this question is. And the only difference is with conceptual blending, we're both using conceptual blending, but the tarot reader limits their source of ideas to conceptually blend into aspects of a question to a deck of tarot cards.
Yeah.
Where a
Exactly.
creative consultant will use anything in the world around them, from things in the room you're sitting in right now. You know, how does this help me with this aspect of my question, or this over here? What attributes does this have that will help me with this? Anything that we've ever discovered as far as new ideas is by taking something we're totally familiar with and adding it to our question, even though it has nothing to do at all with our question. The more bizarre of a thing it is, the more it'll help spark new ways of looking at it. And that's the power of conceptual blending. And that's what we're doing with a tarot reading. And that's why it works. So thank you for saying that. And it's funny because the mindset is so strong with tarot cards as being mysterious that you can't, it's hard to get people to jump out of that and say, okay, now it can be explained. But once they see why it works, once you understand why something works, it opens up all sorts of possibilities with it that you never had before. You know, and because we never understood why it worked before. And if you don't understand why something works, you're forced to mimic step-by-step instructions of doing something in fear of, it's not going to work right if I don't do this or that. You know, you could tell somebody, well, they got to do the hokey pokey around the table 3 times before they do a reading. They're going to do that because they don't want to mess up the reading. They don't know if it's important or not. The same thing with laying the cards out into the template. People will say, okay, position 1, I got to lay that first here. Position 2, I got to lay this over here next. Doesn't make any difference what order you put those cards in, as long as you got the cards out there and you have meanings for those positions. Lay them in any order you want to lay them in. You know, but the more you understand, the more you see why it works, the more it opens up a clarity about what we're doing, and which allows you to be a better reader. And it just does. It just opens things up for you. So thank you. This is working out good, Linda. Thanks.
Oh, good. Okay. This is from Tony E.
Hey,
Can you
Tony.
please articulate what process you use to narrow down the type of experience the client is actually looking for beyond the face value of the question being asked? Clients can often be so manically focused on wanting an answer to the question, then they don't know how to tell you what experience they are looking for. Reassurance, empathy, confirmation of a choice already made. Some want a real answer to a problem. Some just want to know everything is going to be okay. How do you narrow down who is sitting across from you?
Well, positions, I like, that's why I like my Celtic cross. Now, we talked about before, understanding why the tarot works with conceptual blending. And it's a creative thinking technique. It's an intentional application of thinking. It forces you to see things from a different standpoint, using your imagination. And it also helps you use your imagination as the gateway to your intuition. I say that a lot. So you're using a different side of the mind. Understanding why the tarot works allows me to look at those positions on the card spread. Like I said, I use the Celtic cross. Well, instead of positions that are, this covers him, this crosses him, this is beneath him or behind him or above him and all that. I don't like those types of meanings. So I changed all my positions over time into things that I think were more useful aspects of the question we're looking into. Number 1 and 2 positions on my Celtic cross is a look at the question itself. Lots of times the client doesn't really, if it forces them to look at their question and see things, what they're really looking at, what they really want. Number 9 position on my cross is the purpose of this whole question. What are you trying to ultimately achieve? What are you trying to, why do you want this in your life? This helps get to something that's real there. And it helps get them out of a biased opinion about a situation. Looking at the true question. Number 7 position is how they're seeing their own question. So numbers 1 and 2 position is the question itself. Combine those 2 cards because the question itself is pretty important. Uses those 2 cards. Number 7 position is how the client is seeing their own question. This allows me to question the client's viewpoint of what they're doing. Number 9 position, what they're ultimately trying to accomplish. And I think that helps what you're asking about there. Are all you familiar with my, well, obviously you're familiar with my YouTube channel, otherwise you wouldn't have known about this. So you all know that I have a channel and that I talk about a lot of things about the tarot there. And so there are some common questions that I see a lot with. And one thing I'd like to say, my last YouTube, I talked about staying power of different decks and how a lot of decks come and go. And where when I first started, you didn't have that option. And now you do. And it gets confusing because you buy this deck and then a month later, another deck comes out and you want that deck. Then you buy another deck and you buy another deck. And pretty soon you got so many decks, you don't know which one to use. But the Rider-Waite has 50 years that's been on the market. It came out in 1970, originally 1910, but it never really took off. And the Marseille deck was just always a standard deck. But today I forgot to mention the Thoth deck too. That deck, I believe, came out in the 40s. And that's still a pretty popular deck too. And I got a couple comments on that I didn't say that as a staying power of that deck. That deck's been around. I think that's pretty much because of the name Crowley. So people want his deck. But it's a great deck, but other decks, you know, they come and go, and you don't know. You want to have a deck that's going to be always around, because if you lose it, or if you want to buy another deck, you want to be able to get the same deck. And that makes it kind of difficult now because there's so many decks that just come and go. Beautiful decks, though. They're beautiful, but it's so easy to make. It's so easy to publish a deck now, where it wasn't before. And but they all work. So whatever deck you got, if you like it, use it, because if you like the deck, then it works for you. And I don't think one deck is better than another. I just think whatever you feel is good for you is what you're getting good results with, use it. And I think they all work. And the symbolism on the decks can get confusing because you read about the symbolism being important. So you get this deck and then you get another deck and it has different symbolism in it. And you're reading a book on that deck and it's got different ideas and different meanings or tilted a little bit. And you wonder, well, which one's better? And I think they all work. I think the symbolism encompasses, all the symbolism encompasses each deck or each card, regardless of what deck it's coming from. The symbolism is in your mind. So if this card snaps this idea into your head, that's what you're going to have. And if it snaps another idea in your head, that's fine. It'll shift. Another thing I think is important to do is one thing I see a lot of people do with new decks is they're trying to memorize the meanings of the cards. So what they'll do is they'll write on the card a one-word meaning. But it doesn't look very good in a reading, which is okay if you just want to learn the cards. But as you go on, as you move forward with things, that meaning is going to shift a little bit here and there. And today, I still have my meanings shift, where you find another meaning that would be encompassing what you originally had, but even more. And you wouldn't want to change it on that card. So your meanings are always going to be shifting a little bit. It's not that you don't know, you didn't know it before, the cards, and you're still learning. It's just that that's constantly moving. It's constantly changing. And I could say that firsthand because I've been reading long enough to know that that's always going to be shifting. And I think that that's something that's makes people think that they're still learning because it's always moving. Well, it's just always going to be moving anyway. And you'll never stop learning. That's what makes the deck so fascinating. The cards so fascinating is it's you never learn. You never get it all. Commissioner Gordon's calling. Hold on.
I have another question.
Good.
This is from Grace Ann.
Go ahead, Grace.
Grace Ann has your deck, and she's been using it for giving free mini readings.
Good.
Question is, how do I keep the reading going for at least 30 minutes, as I find it challenging to keep expanding on the reading when I have been keeping things short and to the point?
Okay. That's interesting because most people are the other way around. They learn how to do a reading and then you tell them, okay, we're just going to be doing popcorn readings here, just 3, 4, 5 minute readings. They say, oh, I can't do that. That's too short a time. I don't have enough time to do the reading. And they have so their challenge is usually the other way. You are saying, I've been doing a lot of these, I call them popcorn readings, just bam, bam, like this. And now I want to go into something more deeper. I'd say that that won't be hard to do. I think you could just look into what you've seen in the initial part of the reading in the 3, 4 minutes and look into going deeper into it now. And you'll be able to see it in those cards. I think you'll be fine with that. Try doing 10-minute readings. And then go to a half an hour. You'll find yourself being able to expand on that. Another thing you can do with that too is just use your initial cards as the introduction of the reading. And then as you want to keep on going with a longer reading, throw over more cards on top of the first group as like another layer. And you could use, so you could peek underneath what was the card before, and now the card on top of it. How does that deepen the reading in some way? How does it move forward to expanding in this in some way? You'll get ideas. You'll see them come. I do that a lot. I'll do readings in layers. I'll throw one set of cards down, and I'll throw another set on top of them as I'm talking, maybe another set on top of them. And this way I could look underneath and what was down below, what's on top now over here, and sort of like a 3D reading. You'll find yourself, you'll find that helps, I think. That might help you.
Okay, this is from Andrea.
Hi,
I've been
Andrea.
reading tarot for 29 years. Just this past year, I've stopped, not hard choice, reading them in reverse because it doesn't seem to make much difference anymore. What are your thoughts on this, Vincent and Linda? I don't read tarot. Your turn.
That's an easy answer. I don't use reverse meanings. And people that know me know right off the bat that I don't use them. And it's because when I first started reading, they didn't have them. And matter of fact, here's a instruction booklet out of the the Rider-Waite, the Marseille tarot deck by Grimmel. And there's no reverse meanings in here. And that's because the Marseille deck, there's certain cards in there that you could not find a way to reverse it anyway. Here's an example on my deck. And this is the floral arrangement is exactly any other standard Marseille deck. There's no way to read that reverse. So they told you back then, mark the deck, mark the bottom of a card if you wanted to use reverse. You got to take a Sharpie or something and put a reversal down there, a mark down here, so you know that that's the bottom to you and that's the top on the other side. But to me, I could look at any books on the tarot, and you'll see that a lot of them have the reverse and the upright position meanings. To me, that card means both reading right. Depending on how I see it in the reading with the other cards, a card can look like a negative thing or a positive thing or something that has to be done, something that still to be done, something that's going to happen. So both reverse and upright meanings are in there. I see them both without using reverse meanings. And what I don't like about reverse meanings is because just at the lay of a card, you're telling yourself that's telling me now that this card means something a specific way because it's reversed. And so I think it's limiting you. And I've seen a lot of people that were students of mine who would say that card makes perfect sense if it wasn't reversed. Well, then don't look at it reversed. If you're seeing it that makes more sense right side up, that's how you should read it with the meaning of that way. With me, I just turn them all right side up. I'm the reader. I want them facing right side up to me. And that's how I read them. So if you don't like if you don't like the reverse meanings, or if you don't think that they're necessary anymore, I agree. I never thought they were necessary. I know good readers, though, that use them, and they love them. So again, like I said, I know you're going to find pro readers. Everybody reads differently. You find one reader that reads if you like using them, it works for you. Use them, but you don't have to use them. Hope that answers something. Hello, Linda.
I wanted to, someone said hi to me and I wanted to answer. So I put an answer, but how do you key it in? I can't.
But yeah, we got some people saying hi to Linda here. Linda's going to help me out. We didn't know what kind of response we were going to get here and if I was going to need any help with anything. And last time I wasn't really looking at all the people in the keyboard on the chat room and all that. So she said she's going to be over here helping me out with this. But anyway, going back to what I was saying, just call back if you got a question, Linda. And
okay. Someone just answered me. Your message to Rick is there, but I don't see it.
Oh, yeah, your keyboard ain't working. That's all. You have to close out and come back in.
Okay, sorry anybody that texts me. I can't answer. Sorry.
No, just either that or just close out and come back in. Your keyboard will work again. Mahjong does that to your keyboard. So your keyboard isn't working.
Okay, I don't want to take up your time with these people. This.
That's all right. We got a lot of time here. All right. Well, anyway, so that's what I wanted to mention about the cards. Is I think you'll see a lot of different. You'll go through a lot of changes with these cards. Any pro readers in here right now? No. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, good. Hi. How are you?
Good.
Bill?
How are you?
Nice to see you, Bill. Hey, there he is. Hi, Jer.
Hey, Vince.
So we got some pro readers in here, and you know, I think that anybody that's what I'm saying is that what I wanted to ask that for is I wanted to see that everybody reads a little differently, and it doesn't make any difference. Don't try to be like somebody else. You want to be like yourself. I mean, it's nice to get advice from somebody, but you're going to end up being yourself anyway. And so if you want to try to go pro, don't think that you can't do it. You can do it. Everybody can do it. And I just wanted to see what kind of a pulse we got in here too, as far as people in here. But so it's good to see.
You have a question
Okay, what's the question?
about the Lover's card. I see so many cards in my own decks in the RWS that just doesn't say love to me. More like indecision or indifference. Did you ever think that?
Yeah, well, I you know, the lovers on the Marseille is lover. It's singular. And that's because, and it shows a man with two women next to one on his left and one on his right. And he has to make a choice. And the card really, from what I understood back then, it represented making a choice, not lovers. Rider-Waite came out with the Garden of Eden look, and he made it lovers instead of lover. And people, it sort of implies that this could be about a lover or two people coming together, which is really popular in readings anyway about relationship. So I look at the Lover's card as a choice and a duality, a plural, a plurality, a duality. And so it's a yes or no type of thing, or good and bad, or just opposites. It doesn't have to be good and bad, but just opposites. And which could be a relationship, but it could also be a lot of other things. So I like to look at it as choice, really, more than lovers. But it's hard not to see that card as a lover's card because of the image. And if it comes up in a reading and you feel it means relationship, that's an intuitive spark to it. And it could definitely, that card at that particular reading could definitely mean something about a relationship. But it could have many meanings. So I wouldn't look at it just as, if you're not seeing the lovers in that card, that's okay, because originally I think it's supposed to be about a duality or a choice. And in the Rider-Waite, it's got the tree of life and the tree of knowledge in there too. So there's a lot of opposites going on there. And the man and the woman, Adam and Eve. And so yeah, you could look at it more than just the lovers. And some decks, like the Greer deck, Morgan Greer, it definitely looks like the lovers there. I don't have that deck with me right now. I might have it here. No, I don't have it. But it shows them facing each other, and I think they're very close to each other, and they look like lovers. So depends on the deck.
You have another question?
Okay,
I have another question.
good. Keep those cards and letters coming in, folks.
This is from Natasha from Holland.
Hi, Natasha.
What if 2 to 3 or even 4 the same numbers come in a reading? What does it mean if a couple comes in a reading or lay next to each other?
Say that again.
What if 2, 3, or even 4 the same numbers come up in a reading? What does it mean if a couple comes in a reading or lay next to each other? Why?
To me, the way I look at a reading is forget about the cards first. Look at the positions on the card spread. Each position of a card spread is an aspect of your question. So like if I use it, like if you look at my Celtic cross, I like to cross. Position 5 on my cross is an asset the client has, something they got going for. Position 6 is an opportunity that they should look for coming up in the future. So the segment of the question is really what's important. The card is an answer or a suggestion. So if the same kind of cards come up, it doesn't make any difference to me because it's answering a different segment of the question. If I saw, let's say, the 4 of Pentacles in the 5 position, then that's, to me, represents stability. 4s represent stability to me. And then in the 6th position, I see another 4, and that's stability, more stability. Well, I see things, opportunity you have, and as an asset, in the 5 position, you have the ability to stabilize and structure things if you want to do them. And in the 6th position, I see the opportunity that they do become structured if you want to do that. Look for opportunities to do this because I see it working out in your favor. That's when I'm looking at the positions of the card spread. But I also look at the spread overall, and if I see a lot of 4s in there, I might be thinking, well, things look like they're going to stay pretty stable for you. Now, stability, now there you go. Stability, what's stability? Stability, maybe I'm trying to change something. I don't want stability. I want change. Well, that wouldn't be good news. So it's going to be very hard to change things right now because things look pretty stable. Or it could be something good news saying, well, yeah, things look very stable, very structured. I don't see any big changes coming. If you want things stable, that's great. If you want to change things, it's not great. So it's a challenge then. So there again, it all depends on where the card is laid and what the question is, what you're trying to accomplish. Hope that answers something. Go ahead, Linda.
This is from Paula Griffin. I know the answer to this. Straight tarot. Vincent, what's your best advice for someone who wants to read tarot as a full-time business? First step, besides doing some practice readings. That's all in straight tarot, isn't it? No?
I have it. Yeah, straight tarot has a lot on here. How to survive as a tarot reader. Straight tarot. How to survive as a tarot reader. Amazon. One thing I'll say, a good way to start out, if you really want to do, this is great. I think it works out really good. Get yourself look for festivals in your area where they got vendors. Get a canopy tent, they're $100. Buy a couple of card tables, some folding chairs. Have a banner made, tarot readings. Get a couple of friends together that you think might want to do this with you and offer free readings in a situation like that. For one thing, festivals, people are there to have fun. So they're going to get on a Ferris wheel, they're going to get some cotton candy, they're going to get a tarot reading. It's just a fun time. You're reading strangers for free. Makes you feel more comfortable because it's a free reading. And put a tip jar out. A glass jar on your table. Put a couple of singles and a $5 bill in there. Stick them in the jar. Have a label on that jar that says tips. you'll have a line waiting to get a reading with you. If they know, if on your banner or somewhere that's advertised on there, it says free readings, you'll have a line waiting for you to get a reading with you. Do 10-minute readings, 5-minute readings, whatever you want, and just bang them out. And you'll get used to reading strangers and taking on questions, and you're going to get a routine going on. And that's a great way to start. And you'll make whatever the vendor fee was for that booth. You'll make $100 on tips for the night. You will, and you'll have fun. There are a couple friends with you doing that. Even if you're the only reader, just a couple friends with you to help man the tent and all that, and you'll do fine. And you'll learn how to read strangers. Stranger has a question. You know, when you're first starting out, you have some stranger sit across from you, puts down $100 or $50 or something like that for a reading. You're gonna feel, oh my gosh, I gotta be able to come up with something good here. So you got a lot of pressure on you. You start out that way. It's just free readings. You get comfortable with it. And you'll start to feel your pace on it. You'll do fine. And you'll have fun.
Ready?
Yeah.
Grace Ann wants to know, is it possible to read for yourself, or should another reader read for you? Can I give myself a tarot reading? Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, you can. Remember, one thing with giving yourself a tarot reading is the source is coming from you now. So getting another frame of mind or another point of view can be difficult to do. So let's say you met some guy and you really feel very strongly about this relationship, and you're only seeing the good side of things. You throw over those cards, you're going to see whatever you want in those cards. And if you see all this good, it's because you talked yourself into seeing good in the cards. Or if you get an outside opinion, that's an unbiased opinion now. So if you're going to read for yourself, that's your challenge, is getting out of yourself and saying, okay, I'm just going to look at this from a different standpoint, or a different thing here, a different point of view. I think paper, a lot of people see me writing all the time on my pad of paper. If you're going to read for yourself, I think it's good to write out your positions and look at them on paper, because writing down things helps you get out of helps me anyway, a frame of mind, and puts me into I can look at it now on something besides my head and start to see things in a different way. And when you read for yourself, you have a biased opinion. And that's your biggest challenge, not knowing the cards, but getting out of my biased opinion and seeing this situation now. Think of it as looking at it, I'm trying to find another way of seeing this situation. If you're going to read for yourself, I think that's a good way to look at it, with an attitude of, I want to see something different than what I think right now. Another thing you can do is look into the 6-card force card spread. I have that in one of my books. Which one is it? I think it's an Essential Tarot. You could email me or ask me again. It's either an Essential Tarot or Radical Tarot. And those aspects, there's 6 positions. One of them is the good points of the situation. One of them is the bad points of the situation. That forces you to look at things in both sides. So if let's say you're totally against this, forces you to see the good points. Or let's say you're looking at something you're really for it. It forces you to see the bad too. And then one of those positions, the 6th one, is conclusions, making a decision one way or the other. That might help you.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is from Debbie. How do you determine if the card is negative or positive? Do you look at the surrounding cards?
Again, I think a lot of that has to do with the question, how I feel about the person, what they're trying to accomplish. I don't look at, I like to look at it, I'd rather look at it as it's just a challenge, it's something you got to overcome, or is it an asset? And I think you'll find yourself going through times where you're getting an idea that this looks like a red flag, or this looks like a good thing for you. I would say that's the only way you can really tell, outside of the card itself and how you're seeing it. If you see something negative, like a negative card, it could be something you just accomplished, something you just took on and got rid of. It could be something that's coming in the future that you have to prepare for. Again, a lot of that interpretation depends on where the card is laid in your spread. What that position or aspect of the question means, I think, is important. Hope that helps.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, this is from Rick Hensey. I'm finding out more men are reaching out to me for readings. How do you feel about that?
When I first started reading, I would say 90% of the readings were women. And 90% of the readers were women. And so as a guy reader, most women want to go to another reader that's a woman, another woman. If she's a woman, she's looking for another woman reader. And that's still pretty much the case today. Linda always beats me in readings whenever we're doing festivals or something. She always gets more readings than me. But I think that that's changing to about 75% now is women and 25% men, as far as the readers and the clients. So yeah, more men are getting involved with this as readers and as clients. That might even be more than, it might be like 70% women and 30% men, maybe even 60. It's not 60-40 yet, but there are more men involved with getting readings and more men getting involved with doing readings, being tarot readers too. If you are a guy, it's a little harder for you to get clients than it will be for a woman, as far as I'm concerned. You can get them, obviously, I've done it, but I've done a lot of fairs and stuff where they want to talk to another woman. A woman wants to talk to another woman, and seeing most of the readings, most of the clients were women getting readings. They wanted to talk to another woman because guys think differently, or at least that's their impression. But that's changing now. I think it's changing a lot. So yeah, you're right though. There are more women involved, but it'll be fine for you. Either way, you know, it's changing now.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is from Kim Jansen. Any plans to put Essential Tarot and Radical Tarot into the Kindle platform? I have Genius and Straight Tarot, but the other two aren't available. I have ordered hard copies from Book Depository, but would like to have the ebook for when I'm traveling.
If you look at Essential Tarot, I was in the printing industry for years, 30 years, I think. Graphic arts, design, and graphic arts. And there's something called reader spreads, where you got on a book, you have a left-hand page and a right-hand page. So you open up the book and you're looking at a left-hand page and a right-hand page. And on Radical Tarot and on Essential Tarot, I use reader spreads a lot there, where you need to see both pages to get a good feel of what I'm talking about. Is it important? No, you can look at them one page at a time. But it makes it difficult on a Kindle because you're reading one page at a time. Can you do it? Sure, you can go back and forth. But I think it really works out nice to have it that way, especially Essential Tarot, where I have one for each card. I have a map, shows the card in the center, and it shows a map of words all around it, 20 words for each card. These are key words that that card can spark, which can drift off into other words that you would find. It just keeps on going and going. And then on the left-hand page, that's the right-hand page. The left-hand page, I have the traditional meaning about the card, shows the card, and some other information. Radicals set up the same way. And will I eventually put them on Kindle? Probably. They're making it so easy now. I think Amazon does it for you. I think you just hit make a Kindle on my book and it's done. But I have to check into that. I have to see. But that's basically the reason why Radical and Essential doesn't have that. The other reason, if you look at Genius, you got Genius of the Tarot. It's the same type of thing. You got a left-hand page showing the card, the right-hand page going more into the card. On each card set up that way. I think that's important when I made my books, where I didn't want to have it where you're reading, let's say you're reading about the Temperance card, and the Temperance card starts halfway down the right-hand page, and there's a picture of the Temperance card. Then you got to flip the page over to continue reading. Well, you don't see the picture of the card anymore. You got to go back and forth like this. I don't like that. So I always make sure in mind that I'm using printer spreads in my formatting of my books, and that's part of the reason I'd say that I haven't done any Kindles with those two books. That's why. It might come out though eventually. Linda.
Natasha, I think we answered one from her before. Here's another one. I'm practicing for a couple of weeks now and it's going very well. But yesterday I had a practice reading and it was hard for me to see any meaning and it felt I blocked a bit. How to handle that, and what if nothing resonates with my clients?
You're not seeing any meaning. I would say look and see what the look at the question. I wouldn't look at the cards. I would look at a way to change that question in some way, and seeing if the meaning starts to come through then. You might not be seeing any meaning in the cards because you might not see any meaning in the question. If you see meaning in that question, you'll see meaning in those cards. At least I think you will. And so I would say go to the source. I would go to the question and see if you could fine tune it in some way, and seeing if that helps bring out some type of meaning in those cards. That's what I would try, and see if that helps you.
Okay.
Sort of like when you Google something and you type it in as a search, and then you're not getting what you want, so you retype it in a different way and you get a better answer. Same thing. Look at your question a little differently. So think of your card spread like a Google search now. That might work better. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
This is another one from Andrea Escafi.
Okay.
Doing Celtic Cross, do you ever reveal the cards all at once? Turn them all face up?
Yeah, I when I do my cross, I always lay them face up, all of them. I don't lay them face down and pull them over one at a time and read them. So they're all up to begin with. And so I would say yes to answer that question.
Oh, okay. Ready?
Yeah.
This is from Mila. What do you think about court cards and timing? Should I connect them with season or their suit?
The suit. Court cards, I look at as just an extension of the pips. They have specific meaning. And if it's later in the timing is a position, or it helps, timing is the way I do my cross is position 6, sort of a hint for timing. It's an opportunity to come. That gives you a little bit on your timing. And in position 8 is when do I act, now or later? So that's timing there too. And I look at court cards as they have meaning. So like the kings are knowledge. So if I see a king in position 6, let's say, for the opportunity, I would say that could be interpreted as timing as your opportunity will come when you get the knowledge. Got to get the knowledge. You got to give yourself a few months to look at this, learn more about it, get the knowledge, and your opportunity will come. If I saw that as a queen there, maybe in the 6th position, you might look at that with that particular question, whatever a certain question might be. Now's the time to have patience. Just let things ride and they'll come up on your own. Things will come around on their own. So timing won't really be important for you to act. If there was a knight there, knights are action. I would say you're going to have an opportunity to take action. Look for opportunities to take action in the near future yourself. You have to watch for them and see when they're there, but you'll find them. When they're there, grab them. If it was a page, pages are new directions, new beginnings. Let's say you have an opportunity to have some new changes happening, some new directions going on, some new insight, new plans, new opportunities coming. So that's how I would see the court cards. I don't use the suits anyway. So it's interesting with me. Everybody might want to know this. I teach my classes. You have 22 major arcana. You have 56 minor arcana, ace through 10, and 4 court cards, 4 suits. So there's 14 cards per suit. 4 aces, 4 5s, 4 10s, 4 jacks, or pages, so on. They all mean the same thing to me. The suits don't mean anything to me. So it's an ace of cups, or it's an ace of pentacles, or it's an ace of swords, or an ace of wands. They're aces to me. The suits stand for the 4 basic functions of consciousness to me. And it has nothing to do with the reading. That's the way I read, and that's the way I teach. Now, people that learn from me, later on, they might want to go in and fine-tune that and start using the suits if they feel a need for it. You got the opportunity to do that. But I never saw them really being something that's necessary. And again, that came from doing a lot of classes. You were trying to teach people, and you say, okay, well, here's a hypothetical question. We're going to lay these cards in here, and we see, and they got the 3 of swords in the 4 position, and they'll say, oh, this would, to the question that we're looking into, this would make perfect sense if it was a 3 of cups, but the 3 of swords doesn't make any sense. They said, after a while, I just said, you know what? Forget about the suits. It's just too confusing with suits. People come to you with the suits. Suits are the 4 basic functions of consciousness to me. Emotion, thought, spirit, your spirit, and your material physical world. So all 4 of those aspects get affected no matter what the question is. If I'm having a relationship with somebody, that's obviously cups. But that affects my thinking, my swords. It affects my spirit, the wands. And it affects my physical material world, the pentacles. Any aspect you do, anything you're doing will affect all four. And people come to you with the suit, with their question. I'm looking for a new job. That would be Pentacles. But it affects all four suits. It affects your heart, it affects your mind, it affects your physical world, and it affects your spirit, your job. Everything does. Some degrees more than others for each suit, but they're all affected. I'm going to use the suits. So that's how I see the court cards. It's just, they have a meaning, a keyword meaning, just like the pips do, and that's how I see it. So it's easy to see. Now, with the original Marseille deck, court cards were the only cards with pictures on them. So those cards represented people. The pips didn't. But now any card can represent a person. And the court cards have meaning, just like the pips. They don't represent a person, they can represent a meaning too. Matter of fact, the old meanings of the cards had actual physical attributes of those court cards. So if you had a king of pentacles, was a professional man, light skin, blonde hair. A king of wands was a craftsman, artisan, tall, dark, handsome. Maybe an electrician or craftsman or tradesman of some type. Well, I don't use that. I don't think anybody could really use that anymore. I'm not going to say that you met some guy, he's going to be a lawyer, he's going to have blonde hair. Who cares? It doesn't make any difference what color his hair is. You met some guy, you feel something for this person. And so I don't think it's necessary to have that. That's all.
Okay. Ready?
Yeah.
This is from Deborah, or Deborah, depending how you pronounce it. I am new to tarot, but I've been noticing that for me, the people in the cards are very meaningful. I know you don't think they matter. Can you elaborate on your thought process with archetypes?
Archetypes are Carl Jung. I don't really use them. I mean, well, I shouldn't say that. I say the archetypes are your majors. And I think you could look at the meanings that are there, whether they're mine meanings or somebody else's, and those are based on archetypes. And yeah, archetypes are just basic, universal principles that are affect everybody. The minor arcana are more everyday occurrences, everyday challenges. People, yeah, you could see in the images of those cards, you could see, it all depends what deck you're using. But you'll see people in all the cards, not just the court cards. I don't really look for people as much as I look for the energy of the person. But I don't get too specific with people. I don't think it's necessary. And most of your questions are not going to be specific people anyway. Well, if they are specific people, they're about an issue with that person. I'm not really looking into anything specific with getting exact about description of a person or seeing these as people, as much as I see the energy that the people can use or have about them in relation to the reading you're looking into, the question you're looking into. And the newer cards now, the Marseille deck doesn't have a lot of people. The newer cards does. And so yeah, you'll see, you could identify those in people if you want to. Whatever you like to see in those, you'll see. Hope that answers something.
One more.
Go ahead.
Another
Sure.
again from Natasha. When I use the Celtic cross for a love question, How do I know when a card represents the client or the lover or even a third person?
If it's a love, I like to look at it as a situation. Again, not the person, but the situation. Obviously, you know the person already. So what potentials does this relationship have? What opportunities? What pace do you move on it? Those are more important to me. So I'm not going to see the card so much as the client or the person the client's involved with, unless there's a specific question about the client. Let's say you had, or the lover that the client's talking about. Let's say you had a client who has a lover who's in rehab right now. And the question is, how's my lover going to do in rehab? Well, now we know we're looking into the lover. What am I seeing in these cards about the lover? What challenges do they have to watch for? What do they got going for them? And things like that. Hope that helps.
I think that's, I'll just backtrack to see if I missed any, but.
Oh, I have a question.
Okay. But Fatima, how are you?
Hi. Well, I'm still starting with this tarot reading and studying a lot and reading a lot of books and this and that.
Okay.
And I have a question for you. I have a really trouble with the court cards. So what if before I make the question, before I start to shuffle, should I think like if any court card comes, should they represent a person or should they represent an energy or the person that is asking for the reading? Should I think about first, or because sometimes I really have trouble to understand if it's a person or it's an energy, or you know, sometimes it's very much confusing.
Well, if you're talking about if I'd say your best, as you read more, I think you're going to start to see you fine tune that yourself. I don't see that being anything that's really. A lot of people are challenged with the court cards. They're saying, you know, I just don't get these court cards. So that's a common thing. But I have to say that with me, depending on where the card's laid in the position on the spread, could it mean the person, an actual person? Yeah, it could. And how you interpret it would depend on the other cards around it. But all the time, I wouldn't say that always make it that way. Just it all depends on where it's laid, how you feel about the card too. You might look at that and say, well, I don't think it's the person here. I think it's the energy that card represents.
Okay.
I'm not seeing it as a person. But you'll fine tune that as you go forward with it. You will. You'll start to look at it and say, you know what, I'm seeing that as the person here. And I feel real strong about it. The cards start speaking back to you. They'll start screaming at you here and there. And
yeah, I start to see that now.
okay, good. And the more you do them, the more you familiarize yourself with them, the more they're going to talk to you. And pretty soon they won't shut up.
I hope so. But let me just tell you that it's a real pleasure for me to be able to talk with you, because you are the one that got me into tarot.
Oh,
because because of that video about productive thinking and that fantastic presentation. And
thank you. That's nice to hear, and I'm glad you're here with the channel, and I hope I see more of you, Fatima.
Yeah, now I learned how to do these things because the first time I didn't know my mic was on, so sorry.
Oh, that's okay. No, you've been fine. Everything's working out fine. Everything's good. Everything's good. Thank
No,
you.
it was a pleasure to participate in this meeting, and certainly I will be able to participate again. It's a bit
I'm going to look
uh,
right now.
7 hours different, but no problem.
Okay. I'm looking right now. It's always going to be the second Tuesday of the month. So the next one will be the 14th of July. It's always,
14th of July.
yeah, it's the second Tuesday of every month, always at the same time, 12 o'clock Chicago time, whatever your time that means. So it's going to be consistent. And this way you can make plans too. You won't have to know, I don't know what next month is going to be. I don't know when he's going to do this again. And so I want to keep it consistent for everybody. And so that's where I'm going to make it. It's always going to be the same.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you. It was a fantastic initiative. Thank you
Well,
very much for
oh.
the opportunity.
Well, I'm glad you like it. I'm having fun with it. And I hope everybody else is too. And we'll keep doing it. This is just the start.
Yeah.
Cups and 3 cards spread. All right, I see one question here from a Jane Holden. I'm just going to answer that real quick. How can I read Queen of Cups in the 3 card spread where question position is don't do? Well, again, depends on the question. If it was a guy and he had the Queen of Cups come up and I said don't do, I would say proceed with caution with this person or move slowly. If you have don't do, I never really saw don't do in a 3 card spread as far as a position. I don't really like something that's going to be that specific in a position. In other words, do's and don'ts. I'd rather say negative and positive aspects and don't do and do. Don't do seems almost too specific to me. So the position meaning don't do is not one I would suggest being that helpful. If that's what you like to use, I would say that the Queen of Cups would be patience. I use keyword as patience there. So don't do would go along with being patient. And just, I would say that that's how I would identify the queen there. But I don't like that position, don't do. But that's my opinion. So anyway, okay, Jane, well, she said you're just trying different spreads. It's good you're trying something. Try different things like that. I like strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities for a 3 card spread. Strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities. And I do mention a couple times I've done some YouTubes on 3 card spreads, usually past, present, and future. But if you want to go with something, if you want to go with past, present, and future, I think it's a good idea to look at past as what in the past have I done or has happened to me that will help me with this, whatever I'm trying to accomplish here in this question. So what experiences, what do I have under my belt? What do I have going for me from the past that will help me? And the present is what am I going through right now, or what should I be doing right now in the present? And I like the opportunities of the future. I like to look at the future as opportunities. So I see the future as opportunities to do something. I don't believe in fate as much as I believe in free will. So I look at future as options or choices or opportunities that you have in the future that will help you with what you're trying to accomplish. Another thing you could look at with 3 card spread is positive aspects, negative aspects, and conclusions. If you got to make a decision, weigh out the positive, weigh out the negative, make a choice. That helps too. So thank you. And I'm going to be wrapping it up here. I think that's about it. But I hope I see everybody next month at the same time. And hey, Jerry, I see your guitars in the background there. Jerry's a bass player too, right? Bass player? Or
Yes,
no?
sir.
Bass player.
There they are at a place of honor, huh?
I like it. I like it.
We have to talk more about music because I've been worried about the copyright thing with YouTube because I want to start some of my tarot readings with some bass playing, and
Do it.
so I think I got some ideas about how I can use stuff and you can use stuff too.
Okay. Well, we'll have to talk, Jerry.
All right.
And I'm going to wrap it up, and I want to thank everybody for coming. We had a good time, and next month, again, if I see you, it'll be the second Tuesday of the month, same time. And thanks for coming, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you. Bye, Linda. Thank you, Linda.
Welcome.
Take
Nice
care.
to meet you.
Thank you. That was great fun.
Thanks. And Linda, thanks for helping. And I'm
Yeah.
glad all of you were able to make it. And
Thank you.
thank you. And
Thank you from Tower Girl.
okay, Tarot Girl, thank you too. And my YouTube, I'll be making, keep an eye on my YouTube channel because I'm sure there'll be some more YouTubes up there. And we'll be talking. This will be posted there too, on the
Looking
YouTube.
forward to it.
Okay. Thanks,
Thanks.
Sean.
Okay.
Okay. You take
Bye-bye.
care, and we'll talk soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Just thank
Bye,
you.
Linda. Bye, Linda.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.